Last 3 days have been a whirl. I finished, I really wanted to do the blouse challenge this year by Gabrielle and Tamlin. I think I've entered it other years, but not really sort of come to grasp with it a little bit. So I knew they were both looking for something a little bit different. So hopefully you'll have seen the blouse I've put on today with the Suffolk puffs they're called. I've been calling them Somerset puffs for some reason. So that was on, and then this was another one that I really wanted to do. I think I said in one of my vlogs that I wanted to make it in the Liberty print, and there just wasn't enough, so I had to change tack, and I chose this one that I got from Rainbow Fabrics, dead stock, again Liberty silk. Wasn't sure about it. Want you to see the full picture of everything involving. I wasn't sure. I think the buttons are too small, but hey ho, we'll sort that out. I'm going to go and get some pictures of it now so that I can post it tonight. So the pattern that I've used was the V1939, which is there, and then on it's got some gorgeous bits on the line drawings here. So on these lined bits I've added the ladder stitch into it. There was an inspirational picture that I've looked at, and it's been on my Pinterest board for absolutely ages. So that's where I wanted to do. And then what I did, this one that I've made and worn absolutely loads, it drives me mad, the elastic on the bottom, so I didn't want the elastic on the bottom of this one. So I chose the length, I went in between the A and the B, so I just halved it in between and used them. And then obviously on this one I've put the cuff detail on as well. I'm really pleased with the outcome. Obviously a few little tweaks that keeps coming up, and again look at the negatives, but it's come together really, really good, and I really enjoyed making it, the process. The pink top that I did really was sort of like a bit of a tester really for how I was going to get this ladder stitch in, but I managed. The sleeves are epic. I mean, no wonder I didn't have enough fabric. I think each sleeve takes ½ meter of fabric. And then I also went for the pin tuck version as well, so I just threw everything into the mix with this one. So I hope you like it. I hope you like what follows, and hopefully you'll learn something. Again, subscribe if you haven't. Jen Legs Sews on here, YouTube and Instagram, and I'm loving being here, and thanks for all your comments. I really appreciate them every single time. Thank you. I'm really going to be ignoring all the mess in here because I want to do this. It's been in my head for so long. So I've made this blouse already and I love it, but the elastic on the bottom drives me crazy, so I'm not going to put the elastic on and that drawstring at the bottom, but I'm going to do this version, not this long one, but I'm going to add the ladder stitch into it. I've seen one that somebody's made. I'll tag them in it because obviously I don't want to do things without giving them the kudos for giving me the idea. So with this I've got the Liberty silk, and then I've got the Liberty Georgette silk. So I'm going to use the silk for definitely for the front, and most probably the front, all of the front to be fair, and then I'm going to use this for the arms. I think it'll be a lot softer. Now I think again I did this and I did the elasticated on my other one, but I think I might make them longer and put the cuffs in on this one if I've got enough. Well, I've definitely got enough fabric, I think, but I always think I've got loads of fabric when I first start things, and I think that will look really lovely. So this is going to be the next thing that I cut out and make a vlog on. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it is. I'm just trying to get my head in how I'm going to just put this ladder stitch in, but I'm sure I'll find out and be able to do it at some point. I've already fallen at the first hurdle. This is the Georgette, and that is the sleeve pattern.
and I've only got enough to get one sleeve out of the 1/2 metre that I got of that. I either buy more, won't come in time, or I do it all in this and do this as sort of the bottom area of the pattern. So I could do the sleeve in this and the bib area in the silk, and then I could do the bottom in that, or I could just save that for another project if I've got enough of this to do it all. So I'm gonna sort of have a look and see where I go from this, or whether I just stitch this and do something else, but that's where my head is now. Sadly, I'm going to have to give up on this. There isn't enough fabric for this. I've put the 2 sleeves out, and the back, I most probably could have got the front out because it's the small pieces for the front, but it ain't having it. So I've got to rethink either a different pattern, or I've got this Liberty silk. There's most probably enough in that, but I'm not sure about the trim on this one. Doesn't look too bad, but there's no, it's not like white to me. That's an off-white. So I'm going to have another rethink and we'll go from there. I found this and the trim that Nick had sent me, and I think that's not too bad with it. So I could do something using those 2, and I think I've got enough for that other pattern. So decision made, I'm going to go for this Liberty silk. I think this is too green. Yeah, please. I think that's too green. So, I mean, like, you've just had a little conflab there because it does help me. But we think this might work. So all you're going to see is like the little lines in between. So I'm going to go for this long sleeves with a cuff. I'm not doing that high neckline. I'm going to do the small neckline with a bow, and then I'm going to make this longer, and I'm not going to put the elastic in the bottom. So, but I think I quite like these pleats. I think I might go for these pleats in that as well. May as well throw everything at it. And the great thing about this fabric is I'm not going to have to pattern match it too much, but I do think I've got it on my table upside down. I think the direction comes down over from here as opposed to this way. These seem to be upside down, so I'm going to turn it around and do from that way along. So I've got the sleeves cut out, and I've got the back cut out. I've sort of pinned it into place this time to see what it's going to look like. And I've got an obsession with pink at the moment, haven't I? And I've started to do the pin tucks, but it's getting on. I'm going to knock off from this for tonight and start it tomorrow. I'm back to this now, but I did have a dream last night and I wished I'd not cut into this. So I'm looking at it now and I do think it'll be fine. But it's weird, isn't it, what your head thinks at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I've got the fronts and the thingy. I've got to remember to add the length. I've added a little bit of length on this so that it isn't quite as short on the waist. So I'm going to make sure I add them when I cut it out, the rest of it. And I'm going to start with the pleats now and work on those. And the easiest way I find in doing this is to mark with this air-soluble pen and ruler. And then I'm going to press into place. For this side, I do all of the lines on the back. But basically, I did my first press, and then I just came along and actually just measured it 4.5, which was much easier until obviously I got to the end. So forget the pen, just measure the first line and then keep going across from there. I've just added the first bit of ladder stitch, I think it's called ladder stitch, the trim anyway, to this yoke on the top. So this is going to be the armhole, this is the top shoulder, and this is going to come down the front. Because this ladder stitch is already finished off, what I've done is overlocked the bottom edge and then sewn that on and just stitched it up. Now this is all going to be sort of encased in other things, so I'm not going to top stitch it. I think it'll stay in place. But what I am going to do is change this overlock to a 3 stitch instead of a 4, so it's not as deep. And I think it'll be like a little bit neater inside. It's not too bad. And then again, do I need to? But anyway, I think I will. So I've got the first one on, so I'm pretty pleased with that. So the secret is to get it as close to the ladder as you possibly can. You can see where I've gone over it again there because I didn't feel like I got it close enough. So I'm going to do this other one now, and then the only thing I'm not looking forward to is doing the yoke, which curves around, but I'm sure I'll be okay once I come to that. I've just overlaid that pattern piece on top there. You can see how much it is stretched out. So I'm going to have to cut this corner off because it's not needed. On both it's done the same. So I'm just going to do that with a rotary cutter. I think I'm not too bad for the bottom here. When that comes down it should be fine. But I can't believe how much that's stretched out. The idea with prepping these pin tucks first is you do that and then you put the pattern piece on to cut around. So I'm just in the process of doing that now. And that looks really pleasing to the eye, that. I really like the look of that. I'm glad I did the pin tucks. And that's how the yoke at the top sits. So I've got the side pieces to put in and the bottom. Loving that so far. So to change this, I just take the left needle out. And then there's a handy little magnetic strip on the side of this overlocker, so I can keep it there so I know where it is, as well as a handy little box at the side. And then I need to alter the what's it called, the dials, just to get a narrower stitch, and that'll be much neater for those ladder stitches. So I've changed the width and the length. I've changed my dial section to B, where am I here? B, and you can see the difference. That was the overlock stitch that I had on before, and this is a little baby fine overlocking that is going to go. So when you're using silk or something like this, the finer your edging can be, the better. So I've changed the Babylock over to a 3 thread, and look how neat this is. Hopefully I'll get this finished for Thursday. No, Wednesday is the 30th, isn't it, of April. So I'm trying to get this done for the Sew Blouse challenge. So the difference is totally amazing. How neat and narrow they are. So that ladder stitch is going to go on perfectly with these. So it's a little bit, your head's got to get around this. I think that's the side that this is going to come around, and I have got to gather this in to the centre. So once that's on, it's going to start looking like it's coming together completely. The front just has a few gathers at this bottom section. So I'm doing what I've shown you a few times now. I've pulled the bottom thread up and I'm zigzagging over to form the gathers there. So for full disclosure, I'm scrapping these first bits I did on the shoulders. The overlocking's far too deep. This is much neater, and I want it all to be neat. So I've swapped them. I've got on really well with putting these in. I'm going to show you more when I do the second side. I like to do one side to make sure I've got it right before I start showing you how I've done it. But it's basically the same, sort of just edged right around, as I've put the ladder stitch in on one side and then on the other. Not worrying too much about seam allowance because there's loads of ease in this. I think it'll fit anywhere. But yeah, it's looking really lovely. Sort of quite the lad I made this decision now. I think the ladder as well, with it mimics some of the design in the pattern, which I don't know whether I was a genius thinking of that or, like you've just heard, it was a complete and utter fluke. But yeah, I'm liking it. So now that is all in place, I'm feeling happy that I made this decision with this silk. When you cut into precious fabric, you're like scared stiff in case you do something wrong. Someone said in one of the comments to put my disasters down. I can from the past, I'll have a look through them, but I tend not to have that many nowadays, because I either problem solve and take it away or they don't happen. But I did obviously rip the back of my jumpsuit a couple of weeks ago with the Overlocker, so they do, but not massively. But anyway, I digress. Coming back to this, I think it looks really lovely. I love the ladder stitch in it. I think once them sleeves are in, I'm going to go through my button box now, see if I can find any buttons, because I need to go shopping. And my local boys has come up trumps quite a few times now with buttons, for the last twice. So if I can't find them, because I need loads for this, absolutely loads. But yeah, once them sleeves, I love the size of these sleeves, huge. And obviously the back needs to be put on. Luckily the back's quite plain, because by the time you've worked and done all of this work on this front, my head's hurting a little bit. So I've just emptied my button box and I'm spoilt for choice. I love these. They've got John Smedley on them. I don't know where they've come from. There's some plain ones there, but I don't think there's enough. These ones, there will definitely be enough. I'm swaying for these in the light. They've got like a gorgeous purple hue on them. I think you can just see that there. These I think are too big. They're going to go back. I don't think I've got enough of the pigeon mission ones, because they look great on it as well. But I think it's more like a little button, so I think I'm edging for them so far. Leggy always helps me decide this, so I'll see what he says when he comes in. But anyway, I don't need to go to Boys, so I can go to a different supermarket. So I need to stop for a little while now and go and do that. So I lied after that little button one. I continued. I've got the front done and the sides and the back all on now. Luckily, I'm so glad that back's just plain. So I've got the arms and the placket to do on the front, and I'm loving it so far now. I really like it. I think it was the right decision, this fabric. Like I say, the squiggles in this sort of mimic the ladder stitch. It has been a bit of a faff to do, but I think overall it's going to look really good. And I think I've got, I don't know how many buttons to put on. I haven't even counted them. So I've got that to do. I've got all the roulades to make. I've got quite a lot still to do, but the main bulk of it is done now. So I'm sure I'll get this finished now for Wednesday. And I had another idea as well, but I'm trying to put that one out of my head, because it won't take that long to do that, but it's a little bit different. We'll see how we get on with this. I'm not sure how I survived without knowing about this turning tool. So I'm just trimming them lengths down. And then when I find it, on the floor of course, you take this and you put that right the way to the top. This is being sewn across the top. And then you take the other end and squash it in. And pull through. I always use that to even the end bit out there. These come in 3 different sizes as well.
Voila, as easy as that. The great thing about repeating a pattern is knowing what you did the first time round. I'm a bit of a visual learner, so I like to look and see as opposed to read and see. It just doesn't go into my head really. So I've got obviously this one, I've worn this one absolutely loads. Absolutely love the colours and the shape and everything about that. Apart from this bit does drive me crazy riding up all the time, which is why I've omitted it from this side. But I'm loving the pin tucks being a little bit different. Obviously the ladder stitch looks great. I'm dead happy with that. I've got the collar sort of just put into place there now. I think I'm going to, I don't know whether I'm going to do the roulards or I'm going to do the sleeves next. But this sleeve I just opted to put the elastic in. Again, that drives me a little bit mad. So I am definitely going to put the cuffs on this one. It means adding more buttons, but who cares? I think it'll look great. And I think for a Liberty Silk, it warrants something special on it. I've still been cutting threads off this and I don't know how long I've been wearing this for. When I looked at it, I was like, how? So yeah, I've got that to do. Anyway, I'm getting on with it. But it does look good. Leggy's come in and just said, that looks great. So apart from he said I've messed up the bias binding, I was like, there is no bias binding on it, love. So at least he's learned some terminology from me. So I've just thought of this. I'm doing the cuffs and I'm going to draw the lines on to get them sort of really square. But this looks huge and there's nothing more annoying than making a cuff and it not fitting properly. So I have measured my wrist and 9.5 inches are 9.5 inches or 23 centimeters. I don't want them so that I've got to undo them each time, but I can get my hand in and out at that, which is, this is 12 inches. So you can see how big this is going to be at the end. So I'm going to reduce it down to, I'm going to take it to 10. And then by the time I've put the hook and eye on, because that'll overlap, I think, a little bit, it should be fine after that. So if you can see there, I've done these opposite. So I've left the edges open on each side so that I can sew the roulards into there. The roulards all made are using that turner that is just amazing. I'm hoping I've got enough here for the sleeves and the bodice as well, but if not, I've got loads of material left. I can make some more. 29, I need 29. I don't think I've got enough. I've got to sew 29 buttons on. Right, here we go. 29 it is. 29 of 5 centimeters, so I'm definitely going to have to make some more of this, definitely. And I managed to get 18 out of that, so I've got, what, another 29, 11 to go, so I'll have to make some more. So I'm just going to do this first before I start cutting more out. So I only actually got 6 on mine. I'd sooner have a bigger space here for the to put it onto the bottom of the cuff. But it's worked, but I think I've found or thought of an easier way to do it as well. So this time round, I'm just gonna put them all in, and then I'm gonna just take the top over it. I think I just made the last lot hard for myself, really, because at least I can see where I'm going with this, and I'm sticking this or whatever it's called to turn it round. And put it in. So I have to remember only to put 6 on this side, and I've marked on the back of here where my last one went, so that they're not even. They are even. I always say everything opposite. Yeah, this has been much easier. I'm sure it's boring now watching me do this, so I'll turn off and then we'll show you the next step afterwards. I'm more or less finished at the right end now, so they're all in place. So I'm just literally gonna put this over. It looks quite pleasing, that, doesn't it? I'm gonna put them up that top section over, and then I'm gonna sew them all down again. So I suppose they're sort of reinforced then as well. They aren't going to come off anywhere. So now, just to do it for the bodice too. Yeah, and if I'm going to be honest, I would say they look a bit neater than the other ones. But I can live with the other ones too. So after finding the second way was the easiest, although this pattern, I've put the first facing on, and then you cut it out in 4. So I've put the first one on, top stitched it in place. I've started putting the roulades that I had. I've got some more to make, obviously, because I was short, so I'm going to make them and put them on, and then you sandwich these in the same on top as they come around. I'm loving this. I say this every time, don't I, as I'm doing things. I get so enthralled of the loveliness, but look at this, like, accidental sort of ladder stitch into another sort of ladder stitch there. It's just, I just love it. I can't wait to wear it either. When you're working with facings and things, it is hard to get the lines like completely straight, you know, prior to using them. So I normally, I've neatened that one up as I finished it, but I'll neaten them up before I use them. I mean, I suppose you could get them neater, but I don't. I'm just going to neaten this one up to put on top of that. I should just put a new blade in that because it is blunt. If you haven't got one of these rulers, they're absolutely brilliant. Mum uses them for quilting and things. And when I seen her doing like bias and stuff like that with it, I was like, blew my mind. So I'm sure most of you are experienced and you've seen these, but they are really, really good. So that's now nice and neat for my facing. So that's all on now, and because it's lovely and sunny outside, I'm going to hand sew that down. had I not have put the top on here, I maybe wouldn't have, I maybe might have like attempted the stitch in the ditch, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to hand sew that down. So I'm just going to pin that into place, sew that down, get the other side done. So they look really good. Maybe these could be smaller, don't know. But anyway, either way, they're on. So the collar is now on. I've done the burrito method. I think I showed you that with one of my other makes. I can't remember what it was, but obviously I haven't got that many vlogs out, so it's there. I've got the buttons to go on and to hand stitch in here. It's looking really good. The arms are almost ready to go in, but I'm hungry, so I'm going to have to stop and eat. But so far, so good. The way that I put the collar on, I think I showed you before, means that I've got to hand stitch this back, but it also means that I've stitched right the way around it with the burrito method. I'm going to get further into that because now I know it's worked. I can trim the insides. I haven't trimmed that down, and I want to get rid of that line here. So the other side, I got rid of it straight away. So yeah, I think I'm going to be on track. And then the other thing I was talking about, I did start. So not only am I doing this, I've got another one that I want to make to enter into the blouse competition run by Son on the Tyne and Cloth Edit. So Gabrielle and Tammy. So hopefully I'll get that done as well. I'm really enjoying doing the other one. But I'm going to go sit in the sun and finish that off now as well. So I've finished the other and I've started on this again now. I've ended up doing the burrito method, which is give a really clean look to this collar. And then what I found is the only place I need to hand stitch is just this little section here. I managed to get it right the way through, so I'm really loving how that's ended up. I've got the sleeve in. I mean, the sleeves are epic in this, so beautiful. I want to double check which goes to the back. I know this is a back sleeve, but I always get confused when I come to putting the cuff on. So I'm going to go and find a blouse that I've already made and double check that I'm getting that right. I'm sure it's so that these go to the back. In fact, I am right. I know I am, but I'd sooner double check it. And I think I'm going to sit in the garden and get her buttons sewn on because it's a lovely sunny day here in England, and get this finished as well, ready in time. So I've got 2 posts to make today on both of these blouses. But I'm glad I've used this fabric now. I know I was hesitant at first. I wasn't quite sure, but I think I've made the right decision. What do you think? So if you live in the UK, you know that the sun doesn't shine that often. So because it is, I'm taking advantage. I've still got one sleeve to go in, but I'm just sat and I'm going to sew the buttons on. I think I've got 23 buttons to do, and this facing needs doing, and just little bits of hand sewing. So I managed to get it all done, of course, and I'm just heading over the field for some pictures with sunglasses. Doo-doo.